Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with another podcast episode about the NFL. Now, recently, the Colts have been going through a lot of turmoil, you should say, in regards to their quarterback spot. And of course, they called out of retirement Phillip Rivers. And of course, most people assumed, and they were right, that Cam Newton was going to be upset and feel like it was unjust and that he deserved a shot at the quarterback position. Now, of course, we know that Phillip Rivers' last quarterback job before he retired was with the Indianapolis Colts. So it only made sense because, you know, they were saying that he started that offense and he created the offense that they have so they can just plug and play. And it wouldn't require any additional time because they didn't have much time. They're trying to make the playoffs. They're in good. They were in good position to do so. So they had a last minute change that they needed to do, and this made the most sense. But of course, Cam Newton, interesting to say the least, throughout most of his career, there's been speculation that he didn't want to take a backup role. He thought it was beneath him. Of course, he was a Heisman candidate. He won the Heisman back in college at Auburn. He's been to a Super Bowl with the Carolina Panthers. He's been MVP of the league. So he definitely thought that that role was beneath him. So it doesn't make sense why the Colts will reach out to Cam Newton in that regard because they already know where he stands. And plus, he has a lot of other ventures right now, being on ESPN First Take, having his own podcast, doing appearances, doing his own Friday podcast shows where he does interviews with these celebrities and entertainers. So it would take a lot to get him out of those spots, especially the ESPN First Take spot, which is we know is a coveted position that most people and few are blessed to get that spot. So why would you give that spot up to quarterback maybe 5 weeks or so? Doesn't make much sense and have to reroute everything and move and do all these different things. It just didn't make sense because I'm assuming he's in the East Coast and he's in Atlanta right now, so he would have to reroute to the Midwest and learn a whole new offense and deal with that whole situation. And we know that when he left the New England Patriots, it wasn't the best situation. Now, granted, it was around COVID time. So during this time, during COVID, everything was difficult. He caught COVID at the beginning of the season. And when he caught COVID, he had to reacclimate to the system and all of these different things. And there was not a lot left in New England when he got there post the Brady era. He still had Bill Belichick, but Bill Belichick couldn't do anything with that team. There were pieces missing all over the place. They really didn't have a running back, really didn't have offensive line. They really didn't have much. So after the cupboard was pretty bare once Cam Newton got there, and he was just trying to reinvigorate himself before he went out because, it was pretty much he was on his last legs. So 5 years off or however long he's been off, it wouldn't make much sense for him to come back because he had to learn a whole new system, whole new pieces. I think he could have did some things in that offense, especially with a Jonathan Taylor in the backfield and those pieces they have at receiver. The defense is pretty elite. They have a lot of good pieces on the defense, but I think it would have been a lot of reacclimation, and this is something that the Indianapolis Colts probably didn't even consider Cam. Their first thought was probably Phillip Rivers because, like I said, he was the last quarterback that established that offense. He's very familiar with it. They said he didn't have to learn anything, but maybe a couple things language wise. But as far as the playbook, he knew everything, and they just had to plug and play. And they almost won the game the other day. But unfortunately, they came up short. So we don't know where they're looking for as far as playoff contention. It's looking a little shaky right now, especially with Jacksonville hitting ascension at the right time. So it's going to be very difficult for them trying to get that wild card spot. And it's unfortunate for them because they were doing very well with Daniel Jones and their quarterback out of Florida just got hurt too. So they were really scraping just to get by to get that quarterback. And luckily, Phillip Rivers was available. But like I said before, Cam was never, he never really created an offense. The offense he had was Ron Rivers, Riviera's offense that he had in Carolina. So that really wasn't his offense, and he was kind of a guy that was, read option, mostly push the ball down the field. So it really was no intricate offense that he ran. So Phillip Rivers definitely made more sense. And, Phillip Rivers is very underrated as far as quarterback goes because he's one of those players who never went to the Super Bowl. He didn't have much playoff success. In the era that of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, he was overshadowed. Andrew Brees and Ben Roethlisberger. So there was a lot of quarterbacks that were definitely seen as more valued as him because they had better teams around him. Because in San Diego, I mean, he had LaDainian Tomlinson, but he really didn't have. I mean, he had Antonio Gates, but for some reason, I don't know if it was the defenses or just they just got tired at the end of the season, but they always came up short somehow. But they were definitely prolific offenses, especially with that LaDainian Tomlinson in the backfield. But I think for the most part, Cam knows that he would have never took that job, even if they gave it to him. I think he would have asked for too much money, or he would have asked for too much control. It would have been a lot of stuff going on um, that Cam would have just made it more difficult for the team. And, Cam was a great player, but, I think he was overconfident at times, if you're going to play the quarterback position, you have to be confident. You can't be shy about anything or be like, maybe I can do it. You have to definitely be able to convince these owners and coaches because the back of the franchise is on your back essentially. So you have to be able to carry the team to a place where they can go with confidence. But I think sometimes Cam Newton just came across as just condescending sometimes, and he came across like, I know what I'm doing and I don't need any help. So I don't think they needed that at this time, especially with the playoff push. I think he would have kind of conflicted what they were trying to do. Um, but like I said before, he's doing so much right now as far as the media space, and he's doing a great job. So I don't think it would have been beneficial for him to knock off that momentum, and it made more sense for him to just keep doing what he's doing. And if somebody comes out with a great offer, of course, take it. But I think to go out of your way to take an offer that won't put you in the best of lights, especially when you're trying to go into the Hall of Fame and think about how you left. I think it'd be better just to leave it the way you left it because maybe people forgot about some things that you did that might not have been seen in the best of lights. So tell me what your thoughts about Cam Newton and the Philip Rivers conversation as far as the starting Indianapolis coach job. And until next time, see you next time.